ADHD Rewired, episode number 57. This is the show designed to help those of us who have really good intentions and a slightly wandering attention. My name is Eric Tivers. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, coach, and consultant. We know that starting can be the hardest part, so let's get started. But first, let me thank our sponsors. Zoom video conferencing is so easy to use that with all the extra time I saved not having to configure complicated settings, I recorded this promotion. Support ADHD Rewired and check out Zoom video conferencing. Go to erictivers.com/Zoom. Again, that's erictivers.com/Zoom. Get a Zoom room. Support for this podcast comes from Audible. For a free audiobook download, go to erictivers.com/audible for a link for that free download and for some hand-picked recommendations. Go to erictivers.com/audible for your free audiobook download. What is going on, ADHD Rewired listeners, community? I'm just thrilled to be sitting here in front of my microphone right now, recording this pre-episode message, some information I want to share with you. One, I'm really excited. This is the 1-year anniversary show. I launched this podcast 1 year ago today. It is March 31st, 2015. And I just want to thank you for an incredible year of podcasting. I also want to thank all of you for all the positive feedback you've given me on last week's episode regarding positive thinking. I want to actually go to the ADHD Rewired Facebook group, the community group, because I want to share some stuff with you from that. The first thing I want to share with you is from one of the listeners in the community, whose name is, Lori L. And it's about last week's podcast. And I just want to read to you what she says, because I think it's awesome. So she says, I listened to the podcast on rewiring our brains to think and in turn act in a way that is intentionally positive. She says, sorry for all my gloom and doom posts lately. Eric, you are right. I've seen my own thoughts shape my actions and situations in life in both positive and negative directions. So, okay, here's my start. I make a conscious effort to harness my thoughts, feelings, and actions in a deliberately positive and productive manner. I get out of bed and smile every morning. I take a shower and put effort into how I present myself to the world because I matter. I am an encouragement and example to my friends and family. I am purposeful. I overcome obstacles because I have done it before, and I know I can do it again. I only speak words of kindness and love to myself. I am improving daily and living the example that I want, and I want my children to live and learn from. Lori, I just so touched by that. I thought it was amazing. And regarding your apology for the gloom and doom posts lately, please, we all go through those periods. So I accept your apology, but there's really none needed. I mean, I have certainly shared when I'm in a darker spot. And when we're coming up, I want to share that positivity as well. So Lori, thank you so much. I want to share a quick post from Grant Crowell, who is a prior guest. And Grant comes up with these, he calls them Grantasms. They're just kind of the combination of blends of words and phrases that he kind of comes up with. And I like this one. ADHD. And he defines that as when your ADHD is being aggravated by digital distractions coming from multiple Facebook groups you signed up for on ADHD. I also want to acknowledge just a number of people in the ADHD Rewired community Facebook group who've just been really active and on an ongoing basis, and I think have really done wonders to really make this group a really valuable group. And if I forgot you, not intentional, I'm sure there will be someone on this list that absolutely deserves to be on this list, so it's implied that you should be on this list. But I'm sorry if I didn't have your name. But the people that have really just contributed to this group: Carolyn, Precious, Gerald, Tom Nardone, Jenny Friedman, Happy, Colleen. Those were some of the people that were really just regular contributors, commenters to people in the group. And so thank you. I really appreciate you being in the group. And one final thing for regarding members of the group, and this is a message to Carrie. Hang in there, man. It'll get better. All right, before we get to the episode, I also want to let you know that if you're interested in the next ADHD Rewired coaching group, go to coachingrewired.com. That's coachingrewired.com, and let me know. I'm actually looking to start the next group in the beginning of May, probably the first or second week in May. If you're interested, let's get this ball rolling now. Send me an email. I've already had a number of people already email me, and I want to set up those times where you and I can talk if you're interested. So let me know. Go to coachingrewired.com. That's all the information I have before we get to the episode. So I hope that you stuck through this 5 minutes or so of pre-interview chat. Thanks for sticking with me for this first year. And let's learn a thing or two about money management with my guest, Dr. Stephanie Sarkis. Stephanie Sarkis, welcome to ADHD Rewired. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Eric. I appreciate it.
Well, we met, as I've talked to many guests on the show, at, I think it was Chad, 4 or 5 years ago. So let me tell you a little bit about who Stephanie is, because we're going to be talking about two different topics. We're actually going to, the plan anyways, is to split this into two shows. Stephanie is an author, and she's written books about ADHD and money, as well as ADHD and non-medication management, and that's a book that's coming out. So let me stop riffing, and let me just go with the text that you sent me. So Stephanie is she's PhD. Tell me what all the letters mean. PhD. We know what that means.
Right.
That means you've made it through a lot of school.
Right.
NCC is a something certified coach, right?
Well, an NCC is actually National Board Certified Counselor, so it's a board certification for LPCs and LMHCs.
That's so interesting, because even as someone in the mental health profession, I actually thought that was like a coaching certification. So think about, we talk about how do we get people to understand what we as mental health professionals do. Mm-hmm. There's clearly a disconnect then. So Stephanie has authored 5 books: Natural Relief for Adult ADHD, Complementary Strategies for Increasing Focus, Attention, and Motivation with or Without Medication, which comes out this year, right? Mm-hmm. She's authored 10 Simple Solutions to Adult ADD, How to Overcome Chronic Distraction and Accomplish Your Goals, and the second edition came out in 2011. She wrote Adult ADD, A Guide for Newly Diagnosed. She wrote ADD and Your Money, A Guide to Personal Finance for Adults with Attention Deficit Disorder, and Making the Grade for ADD, A Student's Guide to Succeeding in College with Attention Deficit Disorder. Dr. Sarkis is an adjunct assistant professor and clinical trials sub-investigator at Florida Atlantic University in Boca Raton, Florida. And today here in Chicago, it is March 23rd, and it actually is snowing. She is only on my show do I make sidebars during the introduction. She's a psychotherapist and coach in private practice, and is a blogger for the Huffington Post and Psychology Today. Oh, we're going to actually talk about that. Her website is stephaniesarkis.com. Stephanie, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm really excited to talk about ADHD and money. One, because I think it's a really, really valuable topic. And two, I don't think I've actually talked about that on my show. Maybe it's because I need help with it myself. I actually shared on my the episode that I guess last week's episode. I shared my personal kind of vision statements, and one of the things on there I said is that I'm a smart business owner owner because I know the details of the income and expenses of my business, that it can be not further from the truth, but it's a self-statement that I want to, start telling myself. So I then engage in those things. So where do we start with talking about money, or do we want to talk about money in a moment and maybe tell a little bit about your kind of the background of who you are?
Well, wow, I guess I get to pick. Let's see. The book that I wrote, ADD and Your Money, I co-wrote with a legal and finance expert and attorney. So I did the ADHD piece, and then he did the money legal piece. So it's a really nice kind of blend
Nice.
of both professions. So, and I think you had a really nice segue that a lot of people with ADHD do have issues with impulsive spending, difficulty keeping track of financial paperwork, a difficulty keeping track of money management software, taxes, right around the corner at this point. So a lot of issues of just not being able to fully get on the track of getting finances, where they should be.
This is going to air shortly before, at least in the U.S., before taxes are due. So as a reminder, taxes are due April 15th, right? Around that.
Right.
Okay. If you're listening and you haven't even started or touched that, can you give that listener any tips or advice on what to do now when they have about 2 weeks really to get their taxes in?
Sure. I think you do the best you can and seek the help of financial professionals. That could be accountants, well, at this point, particularly accountants. And I think that if you have issues with feeling guilty or ashamed of your money, now's the time to just kind of just charge forward anyway, because you need to get this done. You can file extensions, but I would check with an attorney or an accountant about that, and possibly an attorney too, and because there's different rules based on if you're filing your own personal taxes or business taxes. So the most important thing is just to get it done, and it needs to be done. So the more you're putting it off, the more it's just another day where, you just need to do it anyway. So, but that motivation piece can be kind of off in ADHD. So it's nice people wait till the last minute so they can get a kind of an adrenaline boost to get it done. But that causes a lot of stress for people, emotionally, physically. So most important is to just get started now. And money management software can help with that.
Do you have a specific one that you'd recommend?
I'm not endorsed by anybody, so I'll just say that. But the one that I've seen a lot of people use is TurboTax, or if you have your own business, people use QuickBooks is another way of doing that. And again, I'd really consider talking to a financial professional too to get extra help.
And even these tax centers that are, all over the place, even like in strip malls.
Right.
It's what I think we could end up paying more in penalty, or even potentially miss out on the opportunity of getting back. We will probably pay for by bringing it to a professional and saying, help.
Right. And I think that asking for help is a strength instead of a weakness. And I think we need to see it like that.
Absolutely.
And nobody does this stuff all by themselves. And I think sometimes people with ADHD have been told, why can't you do this or why can't you do that? And the simple fact of it is, again, that even people without ADHD go to accountants. So we need that additional help to get structured and get things turned in on time.
So Stephanie, let me ask you this. So I'm going to ask you some kind of, personal questions in the interest of my own self-interest. So you have some experience with this topic. So I do know the importance of really having my finger on the pulse of my business, the income, the expenses. I find it so painful to do, though. And I know that I need to see information very graphically, like just looking at it through spread, like an Excel. It's hard for me to do.
Right.
What kind of things would you suggest? So, because when I'm looking at my income, my expenses, so I'm seeing actually how my business is doing. When I actually take the time to do that, like it's so I'm glad I did that, but it's a habit that I have not really established. What do you?
Well, one of the symptoms of ADHD is problems paying attention to detail, and money management's all about detail. And it's also multi-step processes. And paying attention to multi-step work is impaired in ADHD. So Those are two things that kind of can be a challenge for people with ADHD. But there are a lot of money management software programs that will provide data in a graphic form.
Mm-hmm.
They'll do a pie chart for you of what money you're spending where.
Mm-hmm.
And again, an accountant can help you, especially with business where there's all sorts of different tax laws.
Mm-hmm.
Can really help break down for you what laws apply to you and how to get the most benefits. If you spend money for your business, that could be a write-off in your taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Making sure that if you are your own business owner, that you take advantage of a self-employment retirement plan. So all
Mm-hmm.
sorts of things that financial professionals can help you with, because there is kind of this technical tax legal verbiage that regular people need help with.
So what kind of questions do you think that people should go to their accountants or financial planners with?
I think one of them is, what am I doing? I think it's one of the main ones. I think just bring your stuff with you, whatever receipts you have, whatever, bring your laptop with you and say, look, this is what's going on. And be very honest and say, look, I have chronic disorganization. You don't even have to call it ADHD. You can just say, I have an issue with organizing my stuff. And tell them what your financial picture is. Tell them that I own my own business, or I work for 2 different companies, or bring in your W-9s, your W-2s, your 1099s, whatever you have, and just give them to the person. And believe me, people that have worked on taxes have seen it all before. So the most important thing is just to get your taxes done.
Okay. Do you have any stories you can share with us of either of someone who was really overwhelmed by this disorganization of the mismanagement of their finances, and hopefully the story has a good ending of how they turned it around?
Sure. I've worked with several people that have financial issues, mostly because of impulsive spending and or difficulty keeping track of spending. And with the help of accountants and financial planners, they're able to get on the right track and stay on the right track. And I think that's important too, is that when you have ADHD, you can get on the right track. It's just staying on there can be tough.
Right.
It takes a lot of self-discipline. So I think also the more that they had successes from money management, the more those successes begat more success. They kept improving and improving. And I think that's something too that's important to note, that things can get better and it becomes like the snowball effect of good stuff. So, but it's just taking that leap, kind of looking over the edge of the cliff and seeing that's not as bad as you thought. I think there's also the sleep at night factor too, that money issues can keep you awake at night. And when you get those straightened out, it takes some work, but you feel much more rested. You have a lower stress level, and it's really worth the effort you have to put into it.
Okay. So what are some of the things that, if people just feel they're almost feel out of control with their finances, what do you recommend as far as just you said to bring it to an accountant, but what if it's just not even for taxes, but just the day-to-day stuff? What are some of the things that you find could be helpful for people to kind of get their financial house in order?
I think still seeing a financial professional is one of the key things, whether it's a financial planner, an accountant, even hiring a bookkeeper to keep track of your money. If you're not good at keeping up with your money management software, you can hire someone that's a bookkeeper for not, I mean, it costs you, but it costs you more that you're not paying your bills on time.
Yeah, I agree.
Doing something like direct deposit, automatic withdrawal also will cut back on the late fees you're getting. It will also make your bills much more organized. I think that's a key thing too, is it's just one day sitting down and setting up everything on automatic payments. So
I know
now that means you still need to look at your credit card balances, and you still need to look at your credit card statement to make sure those statements are accurate. But again, you don't have to worry about paying things on time.
When I was, when I was managing all my own finances, I mean, my best strategy that I ever had for managing finances, at least the day-to-day stuff, was getting married, because my wife takes care of really all of it. Thank goodness for that. But before my wife kind of took over that, I use auto pay for everything. And one of the things that I did, and you can maybe, tell me whether you think this is good or not so good, is, so a lot of this is just kind of mental and having that kind of psychological. So I had a buffer of, I think, of about $1,500 I would keep in my bank account, but I would tell myself that is not there. So I just kind of let everything go on auto pay. So it was kind of that $1,500 was that kind of that buffer just in case there wasn't enough in there. But so there always was enough in there. But I know there's certainly the issue of, you still need to be checking to make sure for accuracy.
Right.
So what do you think about that? Just having that extra cushion if you can in your bank account and putting everything on auto pay.
I think setting things up so part of your paycheck automatically goes into savings, I think, is a way to go, because then you don't really miss it. I think it's also important if you own your own business to make sure you pay quarterly taxes.
Yeah.
Payroll setups, you're kind of paying yourself out of your business and money's going toward taxes. You don't owe a big lump sum at the end of the year. Again, that's another thing you can talk to an accountant about. Really important just to stick with, I think, getting a structured way of organizing your money or checking on it and functioning with it, I think, is the way to go. Have a day a week where you just review your financial picture. You can find ADHD friendly budgets. I know in my book, I have a budget where I break it down to real simple categories, because a lot of the money management books have a lot of detailed information.
What are some of the categories that you
follow? The categories are things like entertainment expenses. That's something that's called a flexible expense, which means you can change that. A fixed expense is like your mortgage or your rent that you can't really pay less than that. The bank doesn't really understand when you're like, do you mind
and
if I
they do not care that we have ADHD.
Right. So we have to keep track of what's a fixed expense and what's flexible. Like, for instance, getting coffee, from a fancy coffee place every morning, that is a flexible expense. You don't really, that's like $4 a month, or not $4 a month, but $4 a day. In some cases. So really important that you add up the stuff that you can let go. You don't really need to have, Starbucks every morning. Because if you add up that, 4 times 7, that's $28 a month that could be going towards, your savings account. So really important that we start looking at the little ways in which we spend money.
Because I do think those little things do add up. Things like calling your cable company and kind of tell them that you're thinking about leaving, or that you need to cut down on services. And sometimes they will offer you a reduced rate for a 6-month period, or if you get that intro special, like that 6-month or the first year of a certain rate. Put that in your calendar, or then call back after that rate goes up to see if you can actually get it down. I think every time I've ever done that, I've been able to get my cable bill brought down.
Oh, yeah. A lot of things are negotiable. All you have to do is ask. And I think for a lot of people with ADHD, it's just getting past that kind of social anxiety about asking. But there are a lot of people that ask and negotiate for things. I think that the key part is, keep your eye on what your goal is. Your goal is to, get a couple dollars knocked off your phone bill or your cable bill, or you could even shut off your cable, because now you can get a lot of programs just through like Roku, or you can watch movies on Netflix, and so you can get those on your TV now. So I don't even have cable.
My wife and I just canceled cable as well. We have Netflix, and we just don't have enough time to watch. We watch Parenthood. That was our favorite show, which is now off the air. We still have to watch the last 4 episodes. So we're going to go to my in-laws to get caught up on that show. But it's like, why are we paying I think it was $70 or $80 for something that's actually, I think, available, you don't even need cable for.
Right. So I have the Roku thing and the Netflix and Roku. I was watching the BBC yesterday. And of course, I'm nowhere near the UK. So we have to look at the things that you don't really need. So your main things are, you need food, clothing, shelter, and those are your main items. So that anything after that, is somewhat optional. You may need internet, but do you really need the super fast internet if you're not playing video games or online games? I mean, little things like that. That those dollars and cents really add up quickly.
They do. What about budgeting?
Budgeting, I think, again, is really tricky for people with ADHD, because budgets have a lot of detail-oriented work. And about 50% of people with ADHD also have learning disabilities, and that includes having math learning disabilities. So it can be difficult to add up all those numbers. So I recommend kind of a ballpark budget. And what I mean by that is just you round up. If you spend, $25.50 on something, just round that up to 30. Always round up a little bit higher, because then you tend to have more money left over. So again, in my book, ADD and Your Money, I have an ADHD friendly budget that explains fixed versus flexible expenses. What can you bend a little bit on?
Okay. What about, who is, I think it's David Ramsey talks about using like getting envelopes and putting like cash in it for each month. What do you think about that?
Right. I think it really depends on what works for the person, because every person with ADHD is very individual. I know with businesses, a lot of times you don't want to use cash because you have to keep track of all your spending in order to write that off for taxes. So it really depends on the person. I've seen some people that worked out really well with. I've seen some people that would go to the ATM and get more money out. So really depends. Sometimes you have to try different things and see what works and what doesn't. So again, it depends too if you own your own business. That's a whole different ballgame.
What about tools like Mint?
Tools like Mint, and also they're owned by Quicken. Quicken, they're Mint's free, and they can download your different accounts and keep track of those in real time. And I think that's a very valuable tool, because then you see also with diagrams too. And again, people with ADHD, like you mentioned, like diagrams, very visual. Really important to look at what money you owe, what value you have as far as what your accounts are worth. Also, what assets do you have, like your car, your house. Really important to keep track of what money is going where. And if you look at it, a lot of people have this idea that money is like good or bad, and it's neither. It just is. But we subscribe kind of emotional values to money, and money is just one way to get things. If you look at it that way. And so when we take that, again, that emotional piece out of money management, makes things a little bit easier.
With I like Mint. I use Mint. I published an article that was in Attitude Magazine recently, and I
read that. That was a good article.
Thanks.
About all the different apps.
Yeah.
Very nice article that Eric wrote.
Thank you.
So everybody look that up. That was in the April.
Yeah, it was the one that's out right now. So I think it's the spring or the April edition. And so I suggested, I talked about Mint on there, and then I had someone on Twitter who was not happy that I mentioned Mint because they were saying, if you read the details, all of your data is like mined and managed by like companies and different countries, and it's. So I was sort of torn. I was like, okay, well, the credit cards and the things that we have such good, credit protections that if someone gets into our account and hacks our account, like, we're going to get that money back. Like, that's fortunately, because of the laws that we have, like, that happens. So it's interesting that when I talk to people who are like overly concerned about privacy, it's like, yet weigh the pros and cons, and yes, if there's identity theft, it's actually a concern that I've often had, because thinking about the paper trail you need to then like organize if someone stole your identity, I think I might just throw my hands up and say, fine, I'm taking a new one.
Well, I think it's important to look at that nothing's really free.
Right.
Yes, in regards to apps and other online software. And that there is a privacy piece that you trade. And I guess the bottom line is, is the benefit of the app or the software worth the privacy that you might be trading?
Right, because you need to put in your bank account information, and because it pulls it. But it also sends you things like, you haven't spent this much in this category like ever. It's just sending this alert, so it kind of alerts you to potentially suspicious activity. It also tells you things like, I got a message, an alert on there saying that 65% of people in your geographic area are paying less on car insurance. So it's using that kind of data mining to actually give you valuable information. And I think
then
awesome.
You're like, well, I live in the Chicago area, so you have to pay more car insurance anyway. So that's why in South Florida, I always get the thing of, you're paying too much of car insurance. I'm like, well, I live in South Florida. That's kind of how it goes. So yeah, but those things are really helpful, I
Mm-hmm.
think, to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends again on your level of security, but if you're not keeping track of your money management and you're paying late fees and getting dings on your credit because of not paying your credit cards, you have to look at the trade-off.
Mm-hmm.
Money management software that may not have those same kinds of kind of data leaks, if you will, to
Mm-hmm.
them. So that's just something to look at.
Mm-hmm.
I know, again, Quicken owns Mint, but they also have Quicken QuickBooks and also Quicken the software for money
Mm-hmm.
management. So I would just take a little look and see, look at something like CNET. CNET is the online review of software and also other tech gadgets and things. And they will review different types of software and let what their view is of the security of it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's just something to look at. So that's CNET,
Mm-hmm.
CNET.
I wonder how much of it is almost like a generational thing about the concerns about privacy and security online.
Well, I know some of the older people I've worked with, like baby boomers, sometimes are concerned about having automatic payment of their credit card done. But there's a good point to that, which is if you do automatic payment of your credit card, you may be less likely to look to make sure that you've had
Mm-hmm.
valid charges on your credit card.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a good point to that. Again, it's just making sure that you set up a time, set it in your calendar. Hey, review credit card statements.
Mm-hmm.
And now also a lot of the credit card companies are getting really good at calling you and contacting you
Mm-hmm.
if they feel that there's fraud on your credit card.
That's
But so
true.
I think the point of people really kind of being a little wary of the technology piece of it, I think there's a good reason for that. But I think also it's important to educate yourself. And if you don't feel comfortable doing something, don't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it just kind of occurred to me that you also talk about college, and so we know how expensive college is. So I do want to ask you a couple of questions about that. But before we do, speaking of money, I'm going to take a second to thank my sponsors because that helps pay for all this podcasting stuff. So we'll be right back, Stephanie. Are you looking for a painless solution for video conferencing without the headache of complicated configurations? Go to erictivers.com/Zoom and get a Zoom room. Zoom is the video conference platform I use for my coaching group, and now I'm using it for podcast interviews. If you're a business owner or a coach, you've got to check out Zoom. Zoom also has plans designed for educational institutions and for healthcare and mental health providers who need HIPAA-compliant security. There are plans designed to meet all of your needs. You can get a Zoom room now for free by going to erictivers.com/Zoom. Pro plans begin at just $9.99 a month. Go to erictivers.com/Zoom for the most ADHD-friendly way to connect with others, no matter where you are. That's erictivers.com/Zoom. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial. Go to audibletrial.com/ADHD Rewired. Check show notes for link. All right, we are back. Just took a moment to pay the bills. So we want to now talk a little bit about, we're continuing to talk about money and financial management with ADHD. And I said right before the break that I had a question about college, because I know that's also, you've written a book about college. Now, I've been seeing more and more like articles and things coming out about the idea is college really worth the investment? Now, what are your thoughts kind of on that? Because it is absurd on how expensive college is now.
Well, I was just reading something about my alma mater, University of Florida, that it's one of the best values of public education in the U.S. So I think it really depends on the college you go to.
Now, do you believe that, or just?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Okay.
University of Florida, I think, and this isn't just because I'm an alumni, but compared to a lot of other schools, very good value for the education you get. It's one of the top tier schools in the country. So I think when you go to a school that the tuition $60,000 a year, I think then you have to really look at, are you getting, honestly, you're getting a better education than if you pay, as state schools. So some of it's, what you're putting into it. And also if you can get set up with a prepaid program for your kids, you can get locked into a tuition rate at the time that your kids are born or whenever you start the program. So
how does that work?
How that works is you pay every month.
And this is to a particular school?
It's, well, for instance, like in Florida, there's one Florida prepaid. It's a 529 plan, which means it's basically money you save up for your kid's education.
Okay.
So you sign up for this, the money that you have saved up over time. So basically, whenever you open the 529 program, it locks in the tuition rates at the time you start the program, and then also you can choose to also lock in the housing rates too, if your child lives on campus. So then over
now, is
time,
that just state specific?
well, actually, my understanding is if you go in Florida anyway, you got to check with your state plan. And
Okay.
if you go to another school, you can still take that money out.
Okay, but will it lock in the tuition rates though?
If it's outside another school, another state, I don't think so.
Okay,
But if
all
it's
right.
inside the state,
Oh,
it
that's
does.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so that's a way to also, and there's tax benefits to that. So that's one of the best ways to do that. So that's a 529 plan. Really depends on your state. You want to look at your state rules.
Okay.
But yeah, I've talked with people that were able to get the money out to go to a different school. But because I guess the state's college system in Florida is so well regarded, a lot of people wind up not going out of state just because the education's so good. So, but again, I think it's something that we really need to look at. Is going to a more expensive school really worth the dollar amount?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I think it's not so much should you go to college or not. It's just what college should you go to? And a lot of people are going to a smaller, community colleges for 2 years and then transferring to a larger school too. And I think that's great for people with ADHD because they get used to smaller or used to college first by going to smaller class sizes, more individualized attention before they transfer to a larger school.
So I know when when I was looking at school, like for grad school, anyways, I was choosing between University of Illinois at Chicago, which is the Jane Addams School of Social Work, and then Loyola. Loyola is a very good clinical program. But I was looking at the difference between basically $50,000 for a master's degree, or I think it was like $7,000. And, we're talking about social work, and it's like, not that I can't make a lot of money in social work, if I'm building a business and whatnot, but it's, it's not typically known for it being a very, people don't go into this field because I want to make a lot of money. So I looked at it as, okay, I can gain what I put into it. And so I made that choice to go to UIC. I got the degree. And I what I was interested in learning, I feel I got out of it. So I think it's just looking at the economics of it. Is there going to be a return on investment?
Right. And one of the things you also want to look at too is that at some of the more expensive schools, are you being taught by the actual professor or are you being taught by a graduate assistant?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I think that's another thing to look at too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also, we try as people with ADHD to get smaller class sizes. I know with some public schools, it's hard to get smaller class sizes. But again, the trade-off, you can get accommodations too,
mm-hmm.
Even if you have larger class sizes. And you can get accommodations like priority registrations. You can get dibs on the smallest class
mm-hmm.
size.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also, again, there can be prestige behind like a big name school. But again, are you getting the same education? I've talked to people that feel like, again, that a state school, they had just as good of education. So,
and with private schools too, there's often, do you find that there's also more more financial aid and grants for private school?
It really depends. I think I don't know as much about the financial aid availability.
Okay.
But it depends. So there are scholarships available for private schools and grants, but they're also available for public schools. It really depends on what's your situation and apply for as many scholarships as you can. I know Chad has scholarships. I know Eli Lilly has scholarships for people with ADHD. So take advantage of those and really look at what are you going to wind up paying for. And the ideal is you graduate not owing any money in loans. But what's what amount of money are you willing to take on to pay back?
Right. And really seriously look at the
20, 30 years paying back their loans.
Right. And I think people, will be quick to say, oh, it'll be fine. I'll take care of it. I'll have a job. But it's like without really, sitting down and really, doing the work to figure out, is it actually valuable?
Right. And you get a 6-month grace period, but after that, you have to pay it back.
Yes.
And a lot of times people don't realize, what that dollar amount's going to be. So when you do graduate, you go to an exit interview with your financial aid, you get an idea how much you're going to pay every month. And that may not be something that you really thought of earlier. So, and you do have to pay that money back. And there's very few ways to get out of that. I mean, sometimes you can volunteer with Peace Corps and have that paid back. You can provide service to a rural area, underdeveloped or underserved area. And, sometimes you can get your loans forgiven. But again, those programs, there are a lot of people applying for those. So really keep in mind, how much money are you willing to pay back?
Definitely. Let's see. What about tips regarding just like if you were to say, all right, someone comes in to see you and they're feeling they really want to get more organized with their finances. What would be like one or two things that as far as specific behaviors that they can do to really just get themselves to be more kind of smart about their money and certain things that they could do to just have a better handle on their finances?
Well, I think one way to get organized is get as paperless as possible.
Okay.
You can use a scanner and scan your receipts. There are receipt scanners that just are very small and portable that you can take with you to the office, and they will read your receipt and categorize, how much you paid for something. And the IRS accepts those as real as regular receipts. I think also hiring someone to help you with that, having an assistant, and you can pay somebody, 10, 15, 20 bucks an hour to help you get organized that way. And I know people have told me, well, I'm already having money management issues, so why should I pay somebody? And it's almost like you can't afford not to, because you are drowning under all this paperwork and not completing the tasks you need to complete in order to be financially sound. So I think hiring someone to help you set up a financial organization, or set up that file folder, or set up the scanning, or set up your money management software can be really valuable.
Okay, I think those are some really, really good tips. I know for myself, I use Evernote, and I use the Evernote camera, and then when I take a picture of that receipt, I just tag it with receipts, and then so when my accountant needs my receipts, I just go into Evernote and then send, capture everything that's marked as receipts. Yeah,
I mean, there are great ways to keep track of all that. A lot of apps available, so you take advantage of those.
And one thing that I try to do that I would say I'm 88% consistent with is when I purchase something that has a receipt, I just, after I make that purchase, I step to the side after a minute of the counter, and so I don't have to do it later. I just do it right there, and then I'm done with it, and I throw away the receipt.
Right. Exactly. I think you got to do it right at the point of performance, meaning right when you got the receipt. Don't touch it more than once. Take the receipt out, take a photo of it, throw it out.
Because there have been so many times where I've had like piles, just awful looking piles of receipts. I'm like, what do I do with this? So I do something else.
Right.
So it's, Okay. I think what we're going to do now, because we're also going to talk about your book that's coming out, but that's going to be next week. So before we transition to that, we're going to do a short version of what I call the random question round. This is the part of the show that has nothing to do with ADHD, which then paradoxically has everything to do with ADHD.
I just want everybody to know that Eric did not warn me of this, and we prepped for this.
And what's awesome is as I'm watching your face, I can tell that I did not tell you about this.
So is this like Craig Ferguson's thing where you would have to you have to do an awkward pause, or, I forget what the other options were. You play the harmonica or something. Is this kind of like something like that?
That's a really good idea. I haven't thought about that. So I have one question that is kind of a standard question, and then I just kind of wing it from there.
Okay.
And that my first question is, if you could invent something or improve upon something that's already in existence, what would it be?
I think a self-peeling banana would be great.
A self-peeling banana. Why?
Think about how much time you spend. I really like eating bananas. So think of how much time you spend peeling a banana.
How many bananas do you eat in like a day?
Oh, I eat a lot of bananas. It's good potassium, which we'll talk about when we talk about non-medication treatments. But yeah, self-peeling. Yeah, like you would have a switch on the banana. It goes zoop, just opens for you.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's the first thing that came to my mind.
I mean, does it really take that long? I mean,
Well, if the banana's not totally, if it's not totally ripe, sometimes, yeah, I can. And then like some people, like I actually peel the banana by taking the bottom part off, and then it peels all the way by itself. But a lot of people still do it by the stem. People that peel the banana by the stem are actually doing it upside down. If you look at monkeys when they eat bananas, okay, here, I'm going to get a banana and I'm going to show you. Okay.
Awesome. I'm so glad that I'm recording the video of this. And while Stephanie's getting this, it just occurred to me how messy the back of my my desk is.
I can't believe I'm doing this, but anyway, so here's okay, banana, right?
Okay.
So people usually do what? This, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's the wrong way to peel a banana.
All right, show us how it's done.
You got to peel it, you got to do each side.
Right,
so what you do
okay.
is this end, you twist this end off, and you just go like this, and it peels like this. Now you've got like a little banana holder. See? That's how monkeys...
But now, didn't you lose, like... Because I think I tried that before, and doesn't, like, that little top tip get... And now she's eating your banana. And don't you, like, get a little bit of, like, the banana tip, like, in the peel when you peel it from that side? Let me see. Let me see if there's no banana in there.
It's just the gross part of the banana. See? You don't want that anyway.
Isn't it only gross, though, because you pinched it and now it became mushy?
No, it's actually gross. Look. Who
okay. I mean, I do see your point that the handle is now superior when you have the other end to hold on to. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't twist the banana technique. It's okay. Right. You can try it, Eric. It's a little new. You'll get used to it.
Well, I eat a lot. I know I put banana in my smoothie every morning. It's very interesting.
Now you can just peel a banana like a monkey. Monkeys don't sit there and take the stem. They just go zoop, and it just peels open. See? Did you see how fast that was?
That was, I guess I should know.
And may I add?
Yes.
No extra strings on the banana when you do it that way.
Does it really decrease the stringiness? Because
there's only one string on the entire banana. See? When you do it that way. So, yep.
If you could have a pet monkey, what would its name be?
Monkey.
Just monkey? That's all you got?
Yeah. No, I'm usually pretty creative, but I don't know. I have to see the monkey to give it a correct name. It's kind of like having a baby. You want to see the baby and then see, what they look like before you name them.
Okay, hang on.
If you have a monkey to show me, I'll name
do.
It.
Hang on a second.
Oh, okay.
Now, my listeners who've been around for a while and are in my online community know about the ADHD Rewire monkey that I think was voted, a name may have been voted on, and I forgot what it was. Like I just my attention got went somewhere else. But here's the monkey, and he's yes, hello. So yeah, do you have any suggestions for?
I was gonna say Fred, but I think he's more a George. He's definitely a George. I know that tongue's a little frightening.
I think he wants your banana.
Here. You want some? Whoa, I just dropped on my laptop. That's probably not good for. Yeah, I think he's a George. Or a Virgil. I think Virgil would be a good name.
Virgil. Well, someone actually...
something like Aloysius.
Someone suggested Jim with a G, and it's actually...
Whoa.
It's an acronym for the Good Intentioned Monkey.
Oh, I like that.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
I like that. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a winner.
Yeah?
I like that. He's very cute. I like Eugene, too.
Eugene,
yeah.
You know why I couldn't do Eugene? Because I would misspell it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, then there's Fred. Fred's pretty easy.
Yesterday, I posted because I changed my the release date of the podcast from Mondays to Tuesdays, and I posted something about it in my community, and So I actually took a real close-up face shot of the monkey and then put some text, over it to make that announcement. And so moving to Tuesdays, there's no apostrophe in Tuesdays. So I've learned. And so
I got fish eating a banana.
And so when I updated it, I made a new meme which had this, but then I also added, because the intro text to the picture was "Did you know?" So it's, did you know that ADHD Rewired is now moving to Tuesdays? And then I have in smaller text, and there's no S. And what I meant to say was there's no apostrophe in S. But what I actually wrote, what came out and posted, was that there's no comma in Tuesdays. And my community really, like the grammarian police, they were out in full force.
Well, I think that's an accurate statement. I mean, I'm pretty strict with grammar, but, that is an accurate statement. There's no comma on Tuesday.
Well, exactly. There is so there's nothing wrong with what I said.
And Tuesday, like when you list a bunch of days of the week, then there's commas, but not inherent in the word Tuesday. So I would say you're making an accurate grammatical statement.
The only problem was that everyone knew that I meant apostrophe.
You know what's amazing is people can't see this or listening to the podcast, but your face is actually getting red talking about your faux pas. Like your entire face is red.
It's fun. I think I just am smiling because I truly I would like to have better grammar and spelling, but I don't, and my brain just doesn't see it. It doesn't like.
Well, see, that's where you get accommodations, which is a great thing about ADHD, which is use things like spell check, right? Or you use dictation software.
I typically do, and I actually have this really great Chrome plugin called Grammarly, which is like even better than your regular spell check stuff, because it will correct things like, did you mean then THEN versus the THAN? Because I'll screw that up all day long.
Okay.
And it's my brain, and I think it's a form of dyslexia. I'm not really sure, because it'll be like I'll say words that are in the right category but not the right word, like comma, apostrophe.
They're close but not quite.
Right. And then the other piece is with numbers, which going back to financing and money, I will if let's say I read a number, say 338, I'll if I have to copy it or write it down, I'll write 388.
Right. Or I flip them, like if it's like 52, I'll write 25.
So, and I wondered why I struggled with math. All right, let me think of one more question to ask you for the random question round. All right.
Now, that self-peeling banana was pretty awesome.
That was pretty awesome. I might need to make a short...
I'm not sure if I can follow that up with something better, but we'll see.
All right.
Oh, wait, and I named the monkey. So this is question 3. Okay.
Well, you more of agreed with the name. You liked the name of the monkey.
The Jim? I like the name Jim, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
okay.
good, yeah.
All right. The next question is, since this is, the goal sort of this episode is to help people with personal finance and the accumulation of massive amounts of wealth, can you give me the lotto numbers for the Powerball?
Oh, wow. How many numbers are there? 6? See, that's the thing. Like, there's compulsive. You know what? I'm not even going to do that because compulsive gambling is an issue for people with ADHD, and I would not want to encourage that. So I'm going to pass on that question.
Really? Come on.
Yeah. So, third question. Give me another question.
If imagine for a moment that there is nobody that is a compulsive gambler listening to this podcast, and what numbers would you suggest?
Keep going. Another
Really?
question.
All right, I'm gonna answer it then. Ready?
Okay, it's on you then.
It's totally on me because I play the lottery once or twice a year. I will buy one ticket, and that one ticket is not of any expectation of winning. It is for the fantasy of imagine if or what if. So when it's like a gazillion, like $100 million, and I happen to be at like getting gas, I will buy the $1 ticket because statistically speaking, you profoundly prove your odds buying one, and you're a fool for buying anything more than one because statistically speaking, it doesn't change it at all. And
you have a better chance of getting hit by lightning too. Yeah.
Yes, it's true. So let's see, 0, 6, 12, 18, 19, 44, 52, and then I think the next would be the power number. Does it go that high? I don't even know. Give me the last one.
Well, I was just curious about the 06 part. So is that just because the little ball has 06
I think
on it?
so.
Oh, interesting.
I actually don't play the lottery to like. Does it even go up past 50?
I like that. You're like 06. That's pretty. Wow. So I would flip that 6 around. Let's see. I take like half of 6, and I'd say 3. That sounds
Can
good.
the power number?
I think we're low on the numbers here.
Yeah. All right.
I don't even know what it goes up to because I don't play the lottery.
Neither do I.
But now you got to give me a third question now. We're still on third question.
Okay. If you won the lottery, what would you do with the money?
Wow. I think I'd donate a big part of it.
Okay. To what cause?
And then I'll probably through a variety of different causes.
Chad.
Yeah, that sounds good. Donate it to Chad. That sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
Also, let's see. I think I'd take a part of it and I think I'd put it in savings. There you go. So donate and savings. That would be it.
That was so boring. Something like a giant gumball machine or something.
See, I'm a saver though, and I think that's the thing we can talk about with money is that some people are spenders and some people are savers. So I am in the saver category. So, and I think that's helps when you're ADHD.
Sure,
So
and I too am a saver. But if you won like a gazillion dollars and still like being smart about your money, so you're not just blowing all of it.
Wait, so the therapist is not okay with my answer. I'm just clarifying. This
isn't therapy. There's no contract here. We're talking as friends right now. Come on. So, tell me a frivolous thing that you would actually like, that you would buy. Something frivolous.
Something frivolous.
Or even practical.
Practical? See, people give me good practical gifts, yeah, but I don't really think I'll buy them for myself. I don't know, I'd probably get the dog like a nice squishy therapeutic dog bed. There we go.
We're not talking like the little lotto. Stephanie, I love how pragmatic you are.
So first I wouldn't tell anybody I won it. That would be the other thing. I wouldn't tell anyone, and I'd go to a financial professional first.
Smart.
Because I actually have read studies on lottery winners, and that's what they recommend you do, is if you don't tell anyone and you go to a financial planner before you even cash in the ticket.
That's smart.
And then they tell you where to invest the money, and yeah, so that's what I would do. So
that is smart.
Yep. And also you live beneath your means.
Yeah, no,
that's a nice thing to look at too.
Yeah, I think that money creates the freedom of choice of what you want to do and don't do.
And I'd buy it. If you're going to push me to what fancy item I get a fancy dog bed for my 12-year-old dog. So there you go.
That's cool. I like to know where what's important to you, and that's it
is. Yeah, she'd be more comfortable. So that works for me. And I'd donate a lot, and I'd put a lot into investments or savings.
Awesome. Yeah. All right, Stephanie, we're going to let you go now, but hang on because we're going to continue next week with talking about your upcoming book. Name the book, and then we're going to say goodbye, but actually tell people where they can reach you. Name your book, where they can reach you, and then we'll say goodbye.
The book is ADD and Your Money, A Guide to Personal Finance for People with ADHD, and it's available. You can order it through my website. That's stephaniesarkis.com. That has a link to Amazon. It's STEPHANIESARKIS.
And all the links to everything Stephanie just mentioned will be on my website at ADHD Rewired. And you can also see the abridged version of those links if you open your podcast app. Most podcast apps support that. Stephanie, thank you. And I look forward to, we'll be back next week.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. I want to thank my sponsors, Zoom and Audible. Together, they provide the technology and inspiration that help me do what I do. Join us again next week as Dr. Stephanie Sarkis returns to talk to us about her new book that is coming out called Natural Relief for Adult ADHD, Complementary Strategies for Increasing Focus, Attention, and Motivation with or without medication. As always, you can find an outline and links to all the books and resources mentioned on this podcast at ADHDrewired.com. Thank you to everyone who has made a donation to CHAD. Your donation helps CHAD continue to provide the vital programs and educational outreach that are so badly needed. To make a donation, go to erictivers.com/CHAD. And if you're a member, please check on your membership status. The reason I'm saying this, and I'm embarrassed to admit it, my membership had expired and I didn't even realize it. But don't worry, as soon as I figured that out, I made sure I paid. So check on your status if you are a member. And finally, help ADHD Rewired celebrate its 1-year anniversary by going to iTunes or Stitcher and leaving a rating and review. And if you've been listening for a while, especially if you've been listening since the beginning, and you've not left a review, can I talk to you? I actually really want to know why. Would you mind contacting me through my website? Just send me an email. Go to ADHDrewired.com. I'd love to figure out why. Don't worry, I'm not mad at you. Just want to pick your brain and figure out why you haven't left a review and what I can do to encourage people who might be in your same position to leave that review, because those reviews help people find this podcast. And if you found this podcast helpful, there's a chance that someone who hasn't heard this yet will as well. Those ratings and reviews do a lot to help other people find this podcast. And I think I said finally already, but finally for real this time, because I don't know if I mentioned it earlier. You may have noticed that we have now moved to releasing episodes on Tuesday. So just wanted to let you know that that is intentional. Moved to Tuesday to just adjust my workflow. So that's all I got for you today. See you next week. Keep on keeping on. And thanks for listening.